Wasn't there on Monday. We'll see whether or not he's there today. A strange situation, Chris.
What?
All around.
Right.
On the field, off the field. And this is rooted in two things. One, he doesn't want to play for the Texans. Two, the Texans want to trade him. I said two things. There's three things. And three, the complicated legal situation that currently is surrounding Deshaun Watson and making it impossible for the Texans to get what they want in trade for Deshaun Watson. That's the real issue here. The Texans want what they want. They want 3 first-round picks plus, and the teams that are interested in Deshaun Watson take a very different approach. They say, hey, this isn't January. Circumstances changed in March. There are unresolved legal questions that go to the core issue of his availability to play football. If, and it's a big if at this point, and I'll set aside the 22 civil lawsuits because, number one, they're going to take some time to resolve. Number two, they don't have the same aura that criminal charges have, especially as it relates to the possibility, number one, of paid leave and number two, of incarceration. You got 10 criminal complaints. You have a grand jury that at some point is going to hear this evidence. We don't know whether or not the prosecutor is going to zealously pursue an indictment. If you really want to indict Deshaun Watson, you can indict him. The standard is low, probable cause. You can present whatever evidence you want that is one-sided if you choose to do it. My understanding is the prosecutor is going to have more of a balanced approach because if you're the prosecutor, you don't want to end up with an indictment where you think you can't turn it into a conviction because you can't surpass the very high bar of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So the Texans are in limbo right now. No one is going to give them what they want for Deshaun Watson until the criminal process is resolved. So we've got, as we've talked about with other players, but in those cases it relates to their contracts. With Watson, it just deals with the broader, I want to be traded, we want to trade you, but we can't right now, awkwardness. And the Texans have to come up with a strategy, Chris, for dealing with it.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, never seen anything like this. I really haven't. I mean, it's uncharted waters as far as superstar, no doubt, one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football, and we got no clue when he'll play again, where he'll play again, and how this is going to shake out. I mean, my first base thought right off the bat is like, come on, like Houston Texans, you're crazy to think you're going to get 3 first-round picks right now in this environment. There's just no way. There's absolutely no way. And like you said, like, yeah, it's as far as some of what's out there right now, yeah, there's still people in league circles that think this is going to get figured out and it won't be that bad and all of that. That's cool. Unless you're the one having to actually make the decision to trade. Like, then your butt's on the line. Whether we hear about the Eagles or the Dolphins or, any other team out there that's involved, like, yeah, it's easy to say those things and cool, but, once you're Chris Greer or Howie Roseman and now you got to make the deal and you don't know what's going to go on, yeah, that changes your life. That's a life-changing decision as far as your job is concerned. And for that matter, I just don't know how the Texans can expect that, and I don't expect any team to make that type of trade offer and go, oh, yeah, we'll just see how it plays out, and we're not sure if he's going to play or be able to play, or we just have to pay him money for the year, and he's going to do nothing. There's too many weird circumstances around this to think that you're just going to get a, trade at base value for a superstar player right now. No way.
I spoke to a GM, and this has been 7-8 years ago, about the hesitation to draft players who have a history with marijuana, whether it's suspensions at the college level, whether it's a positive test at the combine, when everybody knows they're going to be tested. Like, why do you care? Why do you care? And the response was, I don't care about that. Guys smoke marijuana. That's not an issue for me. The issue for me is using a draft pick on a player who, boom, is suspended for 4 games, and then boom, is suspended for 8 games, and then boom, is gone for the year.
Yeah.
That's when I got to answer tough questions as to why I wasted a draft pick on a guy who can't play. And even though it's an entirely different context, the fundamental notion is still there. How do I, as a general manager, justify to the owner of my team that I gave up all that stuff when I wasn't sure that Deshaun Watson is not going to be placed on paid leave for all of this season and maybe into next season? How do I do it without being sure he's not going to be eventually convicted of some sort of a felony sexual assault charge,
right,
and then not available to me for years because he's behind bars? The uncertainty is what's keeping the Texans from getting what they want in trade. And I think, Chris, what they've decided to do, and the Texans have been so dysfunctional over the course of the last year, I don't know how much of this is the result of conscious thought, but I think what they've decided is we got to find a way to keep Deshaun Watson on the team while these issues play out, specifically the criminal case, whether a grand jury, and my understanding is the timeline, nobody knows what the timeline is. Nobody knows whether or not the grand jury is even in the process of receiving evidence. We don't know whether the subpoenas that were issued last week are for documents or for show up and testify at this time. We don't know that. I did some digging around this weekend to try to understand where it all currently stands. So I think the Texans just want to hold it in place. And they hope that Deshaun Watson will wake up one day and say, all right, get me ready. I want to play football. But I think they're content to keep him around, maybe stash him on injured reserve. We've heard about ankle and calf issues. That's a convenient path to put him on IR. And they understand that after the season, maybe, possibly, likely, we'll know where things stand from a criminal standpoint. There'll be no indictment, or maybe there'll be an indictment and there'll be a guilty plea to misdemeanor charges, which is entirely possible, and then we can trade him after that. Then we get the value. We'll pay him the $10 million to be around this year, even if he doesn't want to play. Next year, we'll get 3 first-round picks plus because the teams that are currently hesitant won't be then. I think that's the loose strategy the Texans are employing.
I'm glad you went there because to me that's the only play. It's the only play. I don't know. For them to run their team the way they want to and maximize their greatest asset, to me, that is the only way. You're right, Mike. I'm with you. I was just about to say the same thing. Unfortunately, yeah, with Deshaun Watson, that could be, stink and be annoying or whatever else. But like the Houston Texans, what's the point of trading them right now? What's the rush? Okay. No, you're not going to get what you want right now. I mean, teams aren't going to trade for them and be like, hey, we traded for a new quarterback, and they're going to be sitting there biting their nails being like, I hope the indictment doesn't happen today. I hope the indictment doesn't happen today. I mean, what a great welcome to town. Hey, look, we traded for this guy, 3 first-round picks, and he got indicted today. Yes, what a trade. That's not going to happen. But like you said, if there's some light at the end of the tunnel after the year and we start to see, wait, this is going to work out and those things, then they can maximize their deal again. And, of course, that's way before the draft to organize your draft plans and free agency plans still, nonetheless. And I think that's their only play. So I'm with you there, Mike. Here's my other thing. And maybe this has been out there and I haven't heard, but, will Deshaun Watson play right now for the Texans? If they were right now hey, come on, you want to play? You want to be the starter? Would he do it? That's where I don't even know if I know the answer to that. What is his current stance? Is it absolutely I will not play, or is this just a concerted both team effort to go, wait, let's just sit this out and wait till this kind of works itself out?
I think he currently is not inclined to play. They've had him at 4th on the depth chart. I think he showed up for training camp because he still knows there's a chance he's going to be put on paid leave. If you don't show up for camp, if you hold out,
right,
the NFL doesn't have to make a decision on paid leave. So meanwhile, you're racking up $50,000 per day in non-waivable fines. And it's not like the Texans would have waived the fines anyway. They're not happy with him. He's not happy with them. I think there's kind of a loose understanding here that okay, this is what it is. You don't want to play for us. We don't really want you to play for us. We've kind of moved on from you. Look at all the quarterbacks they have.
Right.
They've got Tyrod Taylor, Jeff Driscoll. They drafted Davis Mills.
Yeah.
They kind of want to turn the page and move on too, but they know they can't trade him for what they want. They could cut and run now. And look, I suggested weeks ago one thing you could do is come up with a conditional package based upon number of games he plays this year, next year, the year after. You tie draft picks to that. Teams don't like to tie up multiple draft picks, though, on a conditional proposition where it can be as low as a 4, as high as a 1. Well, you've tied up your 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round pick. You can't trade any of them now until we know whether or not you're going to give up which specific pick based on the number of games he plays. That's the fairest way to do it. And the other side of this, too, and look, we're in football mode, and we're talking about football matters. There is a serious off-field issue that Watson needs to take seriously and get resolved. And I said way back in March, just as we were starting to understand the avalanche of allegations being made against him, he's got to find a way to make this right. And I suggested early on, get everyone in a room, get a retired judge, allow the individuals who believe their rights were violated to speak their mind in a setting that is kind of like court but not really. Give them a chance to get justice via a settlement with Deshaun Watson. Give them a chance to have Deshaun Watson explain that he understands now, that he's grown, that he's learned, that because there's enough admissions made by his lawyer, Rusty Hardin, to put all of this in an area where, at a minimum, he needs to do some explaining as to assumptions that he made when entering some of these massage therapy sessions as to how it was going to go. So that should have happened in March. The fact that it didn't, and really in hindsight, Chris, the moment that individuals who were suing Deshaun Watson began to file criminal complaints, and 8 of them have. 2 other people who have filed criminal complaints have not sued him yet. They still could. They're still in the statute of limitations. That's when it took on a different feeling. And that's when, with that many people involved, that many allegations against Deshaun Watson, a grand jury is going to have to resolve this at some point. And it's up to that process now. We take a step back and we trust that the criminal justice system will reach the proper conclusion. And the bottom line is these are serious allegations that need to be taken seriously, and we defer to the appropriate authorities as they work through it. But we don't know when that's going to happen, and that is the key. We don't know when, so the Texans can't do anything. The teams interested can't do anything, and they have to find out a way to coexist with Deshaun Watson in the interim.
Yeah, no, I know. It's crazy, but I mean, yeah, I don't see anything happening anytime soon or anything like that unless Deshaun Watson just starts to state like, hey, I want to play. I want to start. I'm ready to be the Texans quarterback this year. And then I would be interested to see what happens if, like, the NFL would actually step in or something like that. But, yeah, I just can't imagine somebody trading for him right now with all the things you laid out. And like we've said, for me, if I'm in Nick Casario's shoes, I'm sitting there also going, there's no way I could trade him right now because I'm not going to get the value that is proper for this player.
You know what? You made a great point there that caused a neuron to flicker in my brain.
Right.
I think that it's entirely possible. And again, I don't want to give too much credit to the Texans because they have been so dysfunctional over the past couple of years. It's entirely possible that the league, which is driven by PR considerations more than anything else, right? They don't want Deshaun Watson on the field. Maybe they don't want the PR hit that comes from putting him on paid leave. They just don't want to do anything. Let's not draw any more attention to this than already has been drawn to it. And the best thing to do is just let the Texans, because the Texans are going to pay him anyway, whether he's put on paid leave or whether the Texans decide to just hang on to him and put him on IR, otherwise not on the field, then the problem's solved. The NFL never has to put him on paid leave if they can convince the Texans to essentially put him on paid leave. I think that may be what's going on.
That's what, if you made me bet money, I would bet that there was, a little handshake, wink, wink, let's do this, Texans and NFL, and they came together with the conclusion you're saying. I mean, that's at least what it looks like to me on the outside looking in.
Easy conversation to have. Hey, look, as long as he's not going to be playing, we don't have to take action. But if it looks like he's going to be playing, that's when we have to potentially take action. Okay, there's the message sent, and you know what the league office is going to do, so you go this other route. And that may be exactly what's happening.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.